Hey YouTube, how's it going? I'm back and I wanted to do another 6-scale action figure review. Today I wanted to look at the Sideshow Collectibles 6-scale Jason Voorhees action figure from Friday the 13th, Part 3. Now, my history with this figure, I've had it in the collection a few times, sold it, traded it, got it back in trades or whatever. So I've had a few different ones of these guys, and I can say right off the bat that each one is a little bit different. So this one is a little bit heavy-handed with the weathering on the mask, the paint's on there. But I'm also excited to say that this is my first one of the Sideshow Part 3 Jasons to not have the egregious ankle issue. So for those of you who don't know, this figure, really cool figure, but it had an issue in the production runs where the left ankle was prone to just having a broken socket inside of the foot, and it would just pop off all the time. So that left ankle was pretty useless. Now I don't know if the seller professionally fixed that up for me or not prior to selling and just didn't mention it because he thought it would decrease the value or what, but that ankle is primo, and I popped the foot off the socket just to have a look at it, and there's virtually no issues in there, so I'm quite happy about that. But anyways, let's get going with the actual review. Now, this time of year I usually get really into horror collectibles, like I'm sure a lot of people do. Early fall, late summer, that's the time to do it. And I used to have a much bigger horror collection. I've had some Ones Customs, Beto Metalli, mostly Michael Myers stuff. I had a beautiful Beto 78, which I only still wish that I had to do a review of it, but I sold a lot of that stuff on to make room for the Samurai collection that I have now and the Medieval Knight collection that I have now. All that good stuff that I've done reviews of quite often on this channel. But I still have some horror, so now's the time to really jump into it. So I think for a production figure, they did really good. I mean, this is obviously Jason Voorhees. There's no mistaking that, right? However, when you compare it, the horror collectible market, us horror fans, we don't get a lot of licensed figures. We certainly don't get enough, and maybe the market's just not there. But that has led rise to fan-made figures, and some of these professional customs are just so beautiful that anytime you compare a licensed figure for 1/3 to even an 1/8 of the cost of one of those beautiful custom figures, you're never going to be fully satisfied. So I'm trying to not compare this Sideshow Jason to those figures, and really on the whole it's a pretty good figure. So let's get a close-up here. I'll take the camera off. Real cool hockey mask, Jason all the way. Some scuffing up there. There's no real weathering on the shirt, although the wrinkles look pretty good. It looks like he's not much bigger than most other 12 scale figures, but on his own, the unique tailoring for this outfit to make everything look like high waters, and just the shirts look a little bit too small, really add a lot to him being lanky. Now there is, I don't know if that's coming up on camera, might be drowned out in the light box, but there is some red in the pants, so it looks like a blood spray got his pants. And then down here on the shoes, that's where we start to really get some of our blood effects. Now I've seen people go through here and add some weathering of their own to this Jason, and weathering is a matter of preference. No slasher is going to be drenched in blood right at the start of the movie, so usually they're not, at least. Hopefully they take a shower, and I imagine Jason here takes a dip in the lake from time to time to hopefully get all that blood off. but it looks really good with more weathering. The way he is now, a bit cleaner, he looks really good also. So I really, I think I'll stick with the cleaner. I'm never really going to go in here and splat blood all over him, but if that's more your style, then feel free. Now let's talk about the head sculpt. We'll go from the top down. One thing that I do really like about this head sculpt is you can see just how misshapen and deformed Jason's head is under that mask. So this mask is not removable, even though there is more or less a fully sculpted face underneath there. But just by the not quite human shape that it gives off, you can absolutely tell that there is a monster under there. In terms of lighting, as you can see, there are eyes that peek out through the mask there. Everything is painted underneath there too, but if you prefer the black eyes, then as you can see underneath the lighting, this mask is far enough away from the eyes to really just give that sunken sort of empty blackness coming out of those eye holes, which looks really good in photography. It adds that haunting kind of effect. Now moving down from the head, here's my biggest gripe, and it's prevalent with all of the Jasons. You're not going to get a run that's better or worse, but you can see that it's like the neck peg that they used was a little bit too long, and while it allows for lots of posability with that head sculpt, there is a huge gap in certain poses. It is mitigatable based on how you pose it, but there's a huge gap left between the head sculpt and the neck. Now I was going to go in there one of these days and swap out their normal long Sideshow neck peg for a shorter, stubbier one to hopefully get that neck to sit flusher against the bottom of the head sculpt, because yeah, that yeesh, looks like somebody took a whack at him with the machete there and left that head dangling on. It looks good from certain angles, but I would like my Jason to be looked at from 360 degrees of awesome on display there, and that gapping really sort of prevents that. So I was going to swap it out for a smaller peg to hopefully get everything to sit flusher, and I'll probably take some pictures of this guy once I do that. But as it stands right now, you're going to get, it's easy to get a really cool looking pose, right? Like it's Jason Voorhees. He looks menacing almost no matter how you put him in there, but you're going to want to make sure to angle it right, unless you go in there and swap out that peg to get him sort of a better look from multiple angles. Now, get back into focus there. You will see that there is a rubbery sculpted torso, and it does extend all the way through to the upper part of his torso there, so the neck, the back, and it's just sculpted to essentially give Jason that big deformed sort of hunchback thing he had going on there. So we'll get in real close, maybe if I can get the photo. Yeah, so his neck looks lumpy and fittingly disgusting, and that's all right by me. Now I am happy to say that while it does have this rubbery sculpted part, there's really no hindrance on articulation, and the outfit just kind of bunches up and folds into that shoulder there, which again looks great. Jason's wearing a shirt that doesn't quite fit him. He's got this real nasty back looking stuff, so the lumpiness looks all right. There we go. His arm goes up about that much before it runs into some hindrance from the shirt there, which is plenty to get a slasher pose. But if you actually move the left arm back here, then you give yourself more give with that t-shirt like that, as it just kind of folds across the back there. So you can absolutely get Jason posed, holding that machete up over his head, ready to bring it down in a slice on some unfortunate campers. So you're not going to have any issues with getting this guy into a wicked sweet pose. There's a crunch at the bottom of the chest area, It's on a ball joint, and then there's one in the waist there, so you know Jason can bend forward, bend backwards. It's your standard shoulder joint. There's a butterfly in there, although it's not super usable due to the rubberized torso. Double jointed elbows. There's a swivel at the top of this sculpted forearm, and I do like they put some vascular details in that forearm. It's monstrous and grotesque, although it's not really a point of articulation that I ever use personally, because you have your standard 6 scale wrist joint, which is essentially going to make this one just a waste of time. So legs, everything is there that you would expect. Up at the hips goes to 90, double jointed the knees, even though if you do that, then those high waters are going to pop up and reveal Jason's beautifully shaved legs. So it's kind of a waste of time. You know, you're going to want to either get some longer pants for this guy or use the bend. Whoa, good catch. There, use the bend tactically so as to not pop those pants up around the ankles too much. And the feet are on a ball joint. The shoes or the boots that he's wearing do go up a little bit, so you are going to be missing something in that ball point or that ball joint, but really not too much. His ankles, it's a soft material for the boots, so you can push and get a good bend and pivot in those ankles as much as you need. Now, accessories, pretty bland. He has his machete, of course, and if you are a big horror buff, you can buy custom die-cast machetes all you want with admittedly some better paint applications on them, or no paint applications on them if you go that route. However, it works fine for me. There's much better ones out there, and you can get them pretty affordably, but Jason comes with a machete, so I'm happy about that. It has this just splotch of glue, or goo, blood goo, right on the back there. Just red paint flopped on. This streaking here is much better. It actually looks like a slash. But the directions, it's okay. It's okay for factory production. I'm not asking for too much. Not that picky. Some people absolutely hate the paint applications on this machete, though. Bring that down. He's got that machete. And he comes with this axe. Now, I think the paint application on this axe is much better. It just kind of, see if I can get a focus on that. See, it's more of a spray, like it's sprayed up after he thrust it into one of his victims. So I like that a bit more. But I prefer to keep Jason posed with his iconic machete. And if you find the exclusive version of this one out in the wild, he will also come with his harpoon gun, which I believe is what he used to get the very first kill in Friday the 13th Part 3, the movie. So if you are all about all the accessories for Jason you can get, you're going to want to hunt down the exclusive. He also comes with 2 of these kind of creepy, not really gripping, but relaxed hands, I guess. I really like. They work really well for getting grasping forward, coming to get you, reaching out hands. They look good. There's tons of vascularity in them, as you can see. Very vascular hands. So, and you also get a couple of gripping hands, which right now I have the right gripping hand on him. And again, if you get the exclusive, you also get a trigger finger so that he can use the harpoon gun. That and a typical Sideshow hexagonal display base, so not a lot of accessories. Sideshow could have gone crazy and just given us a ton of murder implements for Jason here. However, they didn't, and that's just fine, because regardless of whatever they threw in, I would have just displayed him with the machete anyways, because that's iconic Jason Voorhees right there. Now, one thing that a lot of people wish they would have given us is a second unmasked head sculpt. I'm glad they didn't go with a removable mask, because I like how securely that mask is on there, and I know it's not going to pop off and I'm going to have to fidget with it to get to look good on the sculpt again. But a unmasked head sculpt, or from the very end where he gets sliced in there, get a like what Mezco gave us. If you have the Mezco Jason, you know what I'm talking about. A second battle damaged, blood-soaked head would have been cool, but they didn't. And it's been out for so long, there's no point really in complaining about it. Just, you know what you're getting into if you order this figure, and you either like it or you don't. I personally like it, and it's a great representation of Jason from Part 3, which is where he first gets that iconic hockey mask. So, yeah, I'm about it. And that's really all we can talk about for this figure. I think that sums it up. But if I've missed anything in this review, or you have any questions about it, then feel free to get at me in the comments. Do you have this figure? What do you think about it? Is it worth it to go into the custom world and get a one's custom Part 7 Jason? Well, that's up to you. I've had customs, I've had the licensed ones, and they each have their own pros and cons. So, if you want something that looks perfect, then yeah, go the custom route. But if you want something that's a bit more affordable and still looks pretty good, then absolutely stick with the license route. However, just know that a lot of those characters that you love, they're not going to get a lot of love in the licensed realm. So, you know, that's something to take into consideration also. Although I do think that horror is picking back up with the whole retro revolution that we're having in pop culture today. So maybe there's a chance that we get more of our classics made into 6-scale figures. I certainly hope so. But anyways, I'm just rambling now. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on collecting. Bye-bye.